have a preschool-age child? Well, we have the place for you as we get ready for our 29th year. Don't take my word for it. I would like you to hear from some of my teachers who brought their children to Tender Shepherd Preschool.
Well, as a parent of a preschooler, it was great knowing that my children were learning about the Word of God, and they would so often bring the Bible verses home and either know them through sign language or memorization.
I loved coming and getting the kids every day after preschool and the smiles on their faces. I loved the Bible verses that they learned.
And that as a parent, Tender Shepherd was so helpful to my husband and I because it really built a community sense where parents were supporting other parents.
And being a sentimental mom, I absolutely loved all of the little keepsakes that I still have today.
This is amazing. Everyone's looking at me. No one's rolling around on the floor. All right, this is my art cart. I am not sharing it with you. I just take it everywhere I go. We'll get to the art cart. Thanks for inviting me. I'm really excited to be here. This is something different for me on a Monday morning. Like I said, I'm usually in the classroom where I'm begging them to look and listen, and you're all here and you're so attentive, so it feels great. I love your theme this year, Fearless Motherhood. You can't be a wimp and do the job, simply put, and you're all doing an amazing job. Today, I don't want to overwhelm you with more things to do when you're already doing so much, but hopefully I can help assist you with what you're already doing to bring your child's development along. So hopefully I can give you some good ideas about fostering your child's development. And I love the theme verse too. I know for me as a mom, now I'm mothering adults, without the Lord, it wouldn't have been possible. And it's really amazing to see them now walk their own faith without my husband and I. So I love 2 Timothy 1:7, your theme verse, for God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind. Love it, ladies. I hope you find encouragement from that and all of God's words for you. Spend time with him daily. I know I needed him throughout my parenting. So I love this quote too. A child educated only at school is an uneducated child. I can see that in my classroom. And what I mean by that is the value that you place on education in your daily interactions with your children is evident in your child when they come into the classroom. So if you have a sense of wonder about yourself and you're always pointing out what's happening in the world and you have excitement for learning, it bleeds into your children. So studies have shown, and I'm not going to bore you with the statistics, but the parents that encourage their children to learn at home and take those teachable moments, there is a significantly higher academic difference between the peers who do not receive that same report. And I'm very fortunate teaching here at Tender Shepherd. We have wonderful families that do support their learning at home, and you're already doing it. I just hope today to encourage you to continue to, and then maybe give you some fresh ideas on how you can do that at home. So you want to create a culture of learning for your child at home, so when they do get to school, oh, here it is. More of what mom and dad have been talking about at home, and boy, do I love this. I love learning. They have many, many years to attend formal school or homeschooling, so we want them to love it, most of all. So, you choose your battles. You've heard that before, right? What they wear, is that really a battle you want to face? Are they matching? That's a battle you can let go of. But learning, I hope you don't let that slide at home. So the good news is the things that you can do to foster learning are things that you can build into your schedule, the things that you're already doing. So I don't want to overwhelm you and have you at home creating Lessons, you won't see that at all. Objectives, no, I'm doing that here in the classroom. But I hope to give you things to do in your daily life that are meaningful ways to teach your children. So I tried to break them down into 5. I have a lot of ideas, and I really do love educating parents. I love educating the kids first. They're my favorite. But I do come alongside the parents often in our preschool to say, hey, could you fill in some blanks for me? What's happening at home? And how can we reach your child together? How can we get them excited about what they need to do at school? You are a partner to a teacher, and see yourself that way. You're an advocate for your child, you're a partner to the teacher, and we need you. And I tell my parents that in the beginning of the year, I cannot do this without you. So I do have 5 ways in which you can go ahead and encourage your child at home to love learning. So the first, involve your children in daily tasks. You have so many already, right? So not on an hourly basis or in every single task. I know that could be complicated. But we're going to talk about that first. Involve your child in your daily routine. Let me encourage you to have a daily routine, to have daily structure. So the obvious things, meal times, those are pretty obvious. Wake up and bedtimes. Try to keep those similar day to day. Now, I know some days will be different. Even within your week schedule, try to have something in there that you do on a regular basis. And we'll talk about some of those things, but library time was a big time at my house. My kids loved it, I loved it, and they counted on it. It was midweek. Oh, it must be Wednesday, Mom. This is what we do most Wednesdays. So also, that impacts a child when they come into a classroom, there is a schedule. And so a child that is used to a schedule in the classroom will flow from one activity nicely to the other. They're used to a structured schedule. So I encourage you to, if you don't have one, make sure you have one at home. So what can we do within those schedules? So daily routines, obvious things, but I encourage you to get your child to start dressing themselves if they're not already. You can start with a piece of clothing or the whole outfit. I know, it's scary what they come up with, but you could even have it set out to avoid that conflict, have it out for them. Family cleaning parties. So we ladies do a lot of it ourselves. But you could build that into your schedule, an opportunity for your child to see, I can participate in the home too, and I can be a contributor to what needs to be done here. I can do this job on the regular. And so much is learned in a child when they're told to do something and carry it out. Will it be perfect? No. Will you want to redo it? Yes, but don't. Wait till they go to bed. Sorting laundry is one of those ideas. Matching the socks, just an idea, but there's many things I'm sure you do within your day. Let me incorporate my child on Mondays in this task and see how it goes. It could be a fail. If it is, choose another idea. All right, grocery list. I know we're doing most of those on our phone, but if you are, involve your child in that. Give them a pad and a pencil. Hey, what do you think we should get? And it could be scribbles based on their age, but you're using language in that moment. As you're building your list, they're building something next to you. Give your child the task of finding specific things at the store. So I know we're doing a lot of pickup, but there's times where you have to run in and get something. Have in mind, hey, when we're in there, see if you can find something that starts with the letter A. Gives you a little bit of time to find what you're looking for, but it also encourages learning, showing your child that it's happening all around them. That literacy is needed when grocery shopping. Practice math skills while cooking together. I don't suggest cooking together every time. That could be frustrating, but that might be something that you want to build into your weekly schedule. That one time, that one meal. So much is learned when you cook together. The measurements, the counting, and then you could build even fine motor into that, stirring and so forth. So involve your child in everyday tasks. What are you already doing, and how can you involve them? So within that, all kinds of skills are happening, from math skills to language. You're talking, you're engaging with one another, and they're not watching TV or on electronic. So what can you do to avoid screen time, really, in all of that? Okay? All right, so the second thing I thought of, moms have to do a lot of waiting, and so do children. So I thought I'd give you some ideas on what you can do in those moments where you're waiting for the grocery pickup, either in the car or you're waiting in the line for groceries. These are fun games. Again, avoiding the iPhone, which your child might be asking for. You can simply have these in mind. You know, many you're very familiar with. One does have the use of your phone. If they're really begging for it and you're really busy, the photo challenge is fun. Go through mommy's photos and see if you can find 3 people in a photo. Or why don't you take a picture while we wait at the DMV of something that starts with S? So you can use the phone to your advantage, and you can make it a learning opportunity and interactive. So your child has to get up, has to do something, and they're learning something. But many of these you're probably familiar with. All right? So things you can do, learning opportunities while you wait. All right, driving time. I bet you're doing a lot of that too. So some good old-fashioned things, audiobooks, which Kickline gave me money for my classroom, a grant to set up an audio center. And I experienced something yesterday that I didn't realize I would experience, or last week. I had been playing music on it for the students, and they were listening on their headphones. They love the letter people. That's what we learn about the letter people in pre-kindergarten. And the next day, I put a book on CD. And a couple of the students are like, something's wrong. And I'm like, it's playing. I can hear it. And they're like, they're just talking. And there's a book sitting there. I'm like, oh, yes, that's got an audiobook. Now, they have them at the library still at Peters Township, probably can in Mac Library. And it was a sweet moment where I was reminded, yes, this is why I'm doing this, going back to the basics. And they loved it, figuring out what page they needed to be on, listening for that sound, turning the page. So if you can, in the car or where you wait, try audiobooks. They're loving the audiobooks from Peters Township Library. So talk and play learning games. And I put talk because more talking needs to be happening. We're noticing in the classroom at 5, the language skills aren't there as much. So we do a lot of, they might give us one-word answers, they might point, and I'll say, hey, I want to hear that in a complete sentence. What's that? Well, you tell me with your words where you're going with that idea. Now, once they understand my words have power, she wants to hear them. I have lots of talkers now. But make sure you're talking and using language with your kids as you're playing these games, and on a daily basis as you're completing the tasks around your home. So when you're in the car, it's a great time. They're held captive. Talk about some mental math. Like, if you have 15 students in your class and Johnny's sick, how many would that be? You'd be surprised. They're able to do some of those things. Talk about their phone number and address. They do need to know that, and they're not spending that much time in formal education anymore. And that's something they need to hear over and over. And the car is a good opportunity to put that to a song or start talking about it. The car is a great opportunity to pull up to the house and go, there is part of our address on the mailbox. Or to be driving and say, there is our street, making it concrete for them to know and understand. Environmental prints, so when you're out and about in the car, I see the Walmart sign, do you? So those are signs that you see often and you want to point out. What does that start with? What does that end with? Rhyming is really important. There are some fun rhyming games you can do. Have things packed either in the car or a bag, sketch pad or journal. So these are at the dollar store, something that you can purchase and just have on hand. A pack of markers. I love whiteboards and wipe off markers. We use them a lot in the classroom. So you're teaching your child so much. Sometimes just being able to mimic what you're doing on your whiteboard is a pre-reading skill, and that's something that they need to do. Hey, can you do what I'm doing? And then springing from that, here's your name, here's each letter of your name. Let's see if we can find something that starts with those letters. So we're having students come and they know their names and they're writing it rotely. And when I'm breaking it down, they actually don't know the letters. So it's not enough just to teach what their name looks like. Really expand on each letter of their name. Coloring books, sticker books. I was a big sticker book kid. They're making a comeback. Name that tune. I know they have their favorite songs that I'm sure you're listening to over and over. Give them a little blip of it and see if they can name it or finish singing it. Wiki sticks, old but very fun thing to do. They're sticky sticks that you can mold together to make letters or anything that you want. And singing, of course, in the car, and lacing cards are pretty portable. So there, anything that your child might be interested in with holes all around it for them to lace. Yeah, my daughter helped me with this. She's an elementary education major, and she's like, what are lacing cards? So some of this is kind of old school, but I'd love to see you go back to some old school things that really matter and make a difference. All right, so at home, if you have the opportunity or a space, put the learning on the wall or take it out and put it away. So for example, posters are actually very helpful, and you can find them at the dollar store. So when you're there, they have basic posters for basic things like shapes, numbers, even fruits. So what you can do is buy 2 posters, and I'm not saying you have to decorate your house with them. Again, they can either be up or you can pull them out at times. And when you have 2, one of them you can cut out the items and the other keep it whole, and they have to match those items. Nothing fancy or too difficult, no printing involved, just a purchase at the dollar store. Artwork. Have an area for where you can display their artwork, but if they're really into artwork, it's an opportunity for learning. What could we name this? I love your artwork. Well, what letter do you think that starts with if it's a robot? You can springboard from there into a story. Let's make up a story about it. So learning is happening. And so number lines are really great too. If you have space for a number line in an area, or again, pull out that poster. Or if you have a calendar, there's your number line already. But a sense of numbers, if a child can see how the numbers should fall and what order, you can talk a lot about math skills, adding and subtracting. So 2 days from now will be your birthday. So it's the 5th. What's 2 days from now? 7. 5 and 2 more is 7. Now, just some natural things that you can do at home, but if you have a number line, you can often refer to it to keep that learning going. Scavenger hunts with those numbers, placing them on the poster, you could hide the numbers first and then build your number line together. There's a lot of uses with that. And a calendar, essentially like a number line, but calendars are great too if you're building a schedule at home and you're trying to help them remember, there are 7 days. You know, you get those questions anyways. How many more days until we go to grandma's? We answer them 2 sleeps. Well, you can actually show that on either the number line or the calendar. You can talk about the 7 days in a week, 12 months in a year. And what's really confusing, holidays are not seasons. So you can talk about what's coming, the holidays that are coming within the 4 seasons. So we do that at school, but there is a real sense of confidence if my students already know a little bit about what I'm talking about. I'm not saying teach them everything, but expose them. Give them that foundation so when they step into formal education, they're like, hey, I've heard this before. And I'm sure you've heard that children have to hear something like over 200 times before they truly understand it. Instead of charts, if you have a wall for that or something portable you want to pull out, that's great for discipline. So how do you want to do it? Do you want to do a sticker incentive chart? For my daughters, I did something pretty simple where they have 3 of their favorite things. If they didn't listen that day, one of those things went away. So I didn't have to keep stickers on hand. I would pull down the trampoline and say, that's not a choice for you because you didn't, do what I asked you to do. So you can keep it simple, complex, fancy, but all things you could find at the dollar store. All right, so my biggest push here, make time for literacy. So I talked about that schedule. I hope that you have at home. And within that schedule, I pray that every single day you have the opportunity to read God's word, read that together. Read everything there is to read. Build within that literacy time a time within the week where you go to the library, where you allow your child to pick their own selection of books. It'll save you too at reading those same stories over and over at home, although there's benefits to that. So keep reading those same stories over and over. So make sure your child has an opportunity to pick out their favorite books. We want them to love reading. They do it for a lifetime. So above all, let them have some freedom with picking out what you're reading together. As you're reading to them, ask them questions before the story starts. What do you think will happen based on the front cover? Which, by the way, books have a front cover. What I'm getting to is there are hundreds of literacy skills that are needed to eventually be able to read. So myself as the teacher can't get all of those skills in. We need you as the parents to help with that. So reading together fosters all of those skills, hundreds of them, to eventually being able to read on their own. Literacy has to do with writing too, of course. So if you can, have a writing center, and that's really what my cart's for. Moms get nervous having all of these things out all of the time. It can be very messy. So I love the cart with wheels. It's something you can put away and put into your schedule when you are ready for it, when you're ready for the mess, or when you're able to answer those questions. How do you spell? So you can control it with a cart with wheels. Or you can have an area with an organized basket of choices for that day, that week. But we do a lot with daubers. Some ideas for you. Of course, the wipe off board and wipe off markers. My students really love the wipe off books. They love the expo markers. When they make a mistake, they can erase and do it again. They find like they're so confident with the expo markers, and I love that. You can have a supply of construction paper. Construction paper makes great cards. So if you have some kids, maybe boys, that are resistant to crafts, well, Grandpa needs a card. So let's put purpose behind it. Let's make a card for Grandpa. And before you know it, you're doing literacy. How do you think you spell happy birthday? How do you think you spell Grandpa? and you're building fine motor. Books, they can create their own books. So take construction paper and some scrap paper and staple it in there. They love mini books. So you can switch it up and play around with your writing center. They love clipboards. They'll just walk around with a clipboard. Sometimes it's squiggly lines and sometimes they're copying what they're seeing around the classroom or the house. And you have it ready for the grocery list that you're gonna make together. Scissors, I know, they're scary, but they have to happen. I know, some of you are like, and I won't lie, I've had stories and I took the blame. I've had haircuts that were blamed on me and cars that were scratched. Yeah, that was a bad story. But they really need scissors. Imagine a teacher has a skill that they need them to cut and paste, and your child's stuck on how do I hold these things? How do these work? I can't do this because I'm not strong enough. Please introduce scissors, but put them on wheels and take them away if you don't want them at a specific time. So regular reading time, local library visits, have your children choose their books. Books are great for teaching lessons. If someone passed away in your family, or if you see your child's being angry towards others, there are many books out there that can teach that social emotional development and open up that conversation between you and your child. All right, so all of this hopefully helps you facilitate at home these top 10 kindergarten skills. Hopefully you're building learning in your home that promotes following multiple step directions. That's what's happening when you're asking your child to complete a chore, right? Steps are being given. And they have to carry them out. Hopefully you're raising an independent child and you're giving them directions often. We're getting ready to leave the house. So please get your shoes and your coat. They might be young and you have to help them put that on, but they do need to remember multiple steps to carry that out. They will need to know that when they get to formal education. They will have a lot more confidence if they can follow multiple step directions at home. They can bring that into the classroom. Count to 10, there's that number line you're gonna build and recognize those numbers. Write and recognize the letters in their name. It's not enough to just be able to write it. They also need to know that each letter has a purpose in that name and comes together to spell their name. Fine motor skills, that's gonna happen when you have your writing center or any craft activity or cooking together. They're using their hands, that's your fine motor. Which makes it easy at school. I show them the proper way to hold a pencil, and you can be doing that at home too. But if they're strong, they take to that a lot faster because they've been using their hands at home. You're gonna introduce scissors so they're not foreign when they get to school. Interact confidently with other adults and peers. So when it's time for your child to be assessed for kindergarten, that's what they're looking for. A speech pathologist will probably ask them a few questions. A kindergarten teacher will probably be in the room. They just want to see if your child can communicate with an adult well without you, or you may be there in the room. And peers too. So talking about interacting well, please talk to your children about the rules of conversation. There's a lot of interrupting happening. And I see adults allowing it. You're not teaching them the rules of conversation. As adults, we already know them, but we can't assume they know them. So with you and your husband, have a plan. When they interrupt, let's not allow them to interrupt us. Let's lay the ground rules. You need to either wait, you need to either say, excuse me, and wait, but you cannot interrupt mom and dad. Begins there. Because if you're not doing that, it's not pretty in the classroom. Even their friends tire of those who are interrupters. They're like, and you can imagine the teacher tires quickly when you have 15 and you have an interrupter. So please, the best thing for that, ignore them. Keep on going. And then later say, did you notice? I didn't hear anything you said because I was talking to somebody else. You needed to wait. You needed to say, excuse me. Recognize basic colors and shapes, they'll ask them. You can do that on some of your posters or in your reading time. Self-regulation, managing emotions. This is a big one, and this is an opportunity for you to teach in your home, perhaps between siblings, talking about and labeling emotions based on what's happening in your home. Even emotions between you and your child, between your child and their father. I can see that you're angry, giving them the words for that. It's okay to be angry. What's not okay when you're angry, maybe that's hitting. You can't do that, but you can be mad and saying, I'm mad. So do a lot of that at home, talking about emotions. Reading together will be an awesome opportunity to identify emotions in characters of books. Can they sit and pay attention to a story? That's super important, but if you're doing literacy every day, they of course will be able to. Self-help skills, really encourage your child to do things for themselves, and it starts from 2 on up. You know, be assessing with your spouse, how can we have them do more? And whatever that looks at, like at 2 years, 3, 4, 5, am I doing too much? What can I have them do? Because you're building their confidence when you do that, and you're getting them ready for formal education where they will be asked to do things for themselves. Even the bathroom, that's a topic. Yes, train them in the bathroom. Let me see you wash your hands by yourself. Here are the steps. Don't forget to flush the toilet, all those good things. And then recognize at least half of their letters in the alphabet for kindergarten skills. So thankfully, we have resources. Focus on the Family, oldie but goodie, very up to date now. You can go on there and put in your child's age and get specific information about just about anything having to do with parenting, child development, what's happening in culture, faith, and marriage. And then we have Dr. Cheryl Mack at our preschool. She teaches the 3-year-olds, and she did a great podcast with Ron on molding young hearts. She talks a lot about how you would talk to your child in your home and make those times that you're talking together into learning moments, and then also how to spiritually encourage your child and make it a very natural thing in your home. And then there are apps for everything. If you want to know how your child's developing and coming along, you can upload. CDC has an app, and they actually give you ideas on their development, on how to enhance that at home, and they also help you assess what should they be able to do, what could I be encouraging my child to do. And then last but not least, very important, God's word. Use it to encourage yourself and to have the courage to be fearless moms. Train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. Thank you, ladies.